Yes, Chandan, you can ask now.
Okay. Good morning, sir. So,
Good morning.
myself Chandana from Christ University. So, how did it start, sir? Like your startup, and what was the first step and sources of idea?
Okay. And in the food sector, what we realized was that we realized employees don't want to spend too much time in eating food, but they are not happy with the food in the cafeteria. So we did a survey. So most of the employees in corporate sector, we realized that they're not so satisfied with the food in the cafeteria. They want to have food which is slightly better quality, better variety, and more richly. They have the money to spend, but they don't have the time. Because of that, they are ending up eating at the cafeteria. But given if they could eat the same meal within 30 to 40 minutes, they would not mind stepping outside and eating the same food. Stepping outside where they can get better options. So what we thought was we came up with a pilot project. We came up with a pilot project where we thought, okay, how do we test this and validate this idea? Even before we go and develop something, how do we test this thought that we have through a pilot? And we realized that, okay, let us take up one single cafeteria as a test pilot, and then let us find out if we can ask people to pre-order their food so that they will save time and pre-order food which is at a better quality, not the same quality which is being provided in the cafeterias, but a better quality where you get in nearby restaurants. So we tried this. We did surveys inside the company. We took the permission. It was my own last company that I left, which I quit. I went back to the same company and asked for a permission. They were grateful enough to give that opportunity to let me try out this new idea because it was helping them as well. And we did a survey, and the way we rolled out the pilot was through WhatsApp. We said to all employees that this is the number on WhatsApp. Every day we will put down the menu that is available to us. If you want to pre-order any item, you can just pre-order before this time, and we will inform the respective restaurants to keep it ready. You just have to go there, and the food will be ready. You just have to go there, eat, and come back. You don't have to go there, wait inside the restaurant, order for food, then wait for it to get prepared and all of that. So you're eliminating the queue at the restaurant at two levels. One is to get a seat. Second level is to order your food and wait for it to be prepared. So these two is what we wanted to eliminate. We tried this, and the first week I was on ground trying to understand how this entire thing will work and trying to get the feedback of the employees. At this time, my partner was his name is Hardik Sheth. He had not yet quit his company yet. He was almost towards the end of the. He wanted to basically see how this evolves, and then he wanted to quit. And I was running the pilots on the ground, and the response on the pilots was very, very. The first 1 week, we didn't get traction at all. What idea we had in our mind to what we actually executed, there was a huge difference. We realized that we were dreaming about, okay, this is being a big problem for employees and all that. But we realized on ground, not many were interested to do this at all. They were not too keen on every day seeing what the menu is and then ordering in advance. People, when they are in a cafeteria environment, they want their decision is made just before the purchase. It's not that they will plan when they want to go, how they want to eat, what they want to eat, and then they go about it. It is more like a what would you say, impulsive decision that happens when they have to eat the food. So this is we realized that in the first 2 weeks, we did this for 2 weeks. We didn't just want to give it up. We did this for 2 weeks, and we realized this is not the right problem to go after. So one of the important things is you might have hundreds of ideas, but once you put it in action on ground, you will realize whether it will work, how it will work, what is the real problem. Your hypothesis and your assumptions will be challenged once you put an idea on the ground to make it work. And that's exactly what happened. We realized where exactly the problem is. So in the first 2 weeks that I was there on the ground, I realized that the problem is not about being able to order in advance. The problem is the food. The bigger problem is people want food which is fast, but they want the cafeteria food itself to be much better. If someone could come and say, okay, I'll get much better food inside your cafeteria, I don't want to step out, I will get you much better food inside your own cafeteria. That is what they would have preferred. So what we did is we pivoted it. So in the pilot itself, we realized we had to think of a different way to service this, and we thought of what is the best way to do this, and we thought, let's pilot the second thing. The second model that we piloted was in each cafeteria. So this cafeteria was a 300-member company, which had like 100 seats in the cafeteria. We thought, let us get a kiosk inside the cafeteria which sells food of higher quality, which is from restaurants only, which will be much better than the food from the caterers. So the restaurant quality food which we were going to get, we tied up with surrounding restaurants inside that corporate, and every day we tied up with like 5 to 6 restaurants, and every day we had like 4 to 5 menus from each restaurant, and we kept jumbling the restaurants on daily basis. So this kiosk used to get only restaurant food. It was priced at 120, 130 rupees, and believe me, in the first week we were sold out in the first 20 minutes, because we realized that what is the actual problem on the ground. People's need was like, we understood the people's need and then built the solution, and we saw like very good traction in the first week, and we were sold out on every day, and we got multiple restaurants also. All of those restaurants were based on the survey we did. We understood that these are the restaurants where they want the food from, and we realized that this is something that will work, and that's how we started. We started with one idea, and immediately we changed and pivoted and realized, okay, this is the main thing that works over here. So probably I've taken quite a, where I told you that we set up small kiosks inside corporates. Channa, Manoj, you can also go on mute. I'll continue.
Okay, fine. Yeah, fine. Yeah.
So we continued with this model, which was setting up kiosks in cafeteria and getting different restaurants food. This, where we started this was in the corporate offices inside UB City. UB City Mall. On top of that, there are corporate offices from 3rd to 10th floor on 2 blocks. So Citibank office was there. That's why we started. UB City, it was a perfect spot because in UB City, there are restaurants which are super expensive, but outside, in and around, there are, if you go like say 1 kilometer away and 2 kilometers away, there are hundreds of restaurants which serve at a lesser price, but employees don't want to walk every day so much and come back. So we tied up with these restaurants, and we got almost 7 to 8 companies inside UB City itself to pilot our services. And from the point of view of the company, what they wanted was, they didn't mind having our service because it was a value add for the employees. Okay, if the employees are getting something better, even if it is at a better price, if they're getting something better, let me have this as an option, is what the companies thought. And we very quickly got 7 to 8 companies who wanted this. And we were doing around, we started with, the first day we started with 30 orders, and within 2 or 3 months, we were doing around 400, 500 orders a day in very short span. And the way we made it was that we used, we know that our margins will be small because restaurant, when we buy from a restaurant, it will already be slightly at a premium price, say somewhere in 100 rupees range. And when we have to sell it, the employees who will buy this food, they were expecting at a slightly subsidized price because they don't want to spend more than 120, 130 rupees every day on their food. Maybe once or twice a week they might spend that, but other days they would want to keep their spend slightly low. So we had to price it intelligently. So what we did was we kind of looked at each restaurant's menu and we created our own combinations, which is not a part of the menu. We said, okay, make this. Say they had noodles and gravies, and say they had a starter all separately, 80 rupees, 100 rupees, 120 rupees. What we did is we asked them to make a combo pack, which is 100 grams noodles, 150 grams, 200 grams noodles, 2 pieces of starter, and some gravy like 50 ml to 75 ml of gravy, which came at a combo price of which was separately negotiated by us for say somewhere around 90 rupees for a veg one. And we used to sell it for say 120 rupees, and that 30 rupees used to be our margin. Now, to make sure that in this 30 rupees margin, how do we run this entire business? We thought of trying to keep the model very lean. So we didn't. So 90 rupees was without the packaging cost. So 90 rupees, and then if you add packaging, it would have been 15 rupees more for packaging. But we thought, okay, let's not do packaging the disposable way. So we bought certain boxes which were like 300 rupees per box, which was a reusable box. So what we did was it was all packed in a reusable box and transported from there to the office. And in the office, after employee has the food, it used to get cleaned up inside the office itself. There's a dishwashing area, and it was sent for the next day again. So that 300 rupees box we invested upfront, but we ended up saving a lot more because we spent probably if the box lasted us for say at least 200 meals. So we spent only 1 rupee 50 paise per thing for packaging. So we optimized that way. Second optimization we did was there was transportation also inside the 30 rupee margin. We had to do the transportation also. So we customized bags which could handle like 30 boxes at a time. So you've seen this big basket bags, huge bags. So even before that, Big Basket came up with those bags. So before that, Swiggy was also there when we started, but that time it was a smaller bag. It was this size bag. It is still this size bag. But what we did was we thought to optimize on transportation. We made 3 times this size, 1, 2, 3, this size of bag where you could keep 12 boxes on each side. So basically, you could transport 24 boxes. So we went to Shivaji Nagar. I still remember we went searching in Shivaji Nagar. There were specific bag manufacturing tailors, and we kept hunting for who is free and who can do some customized work and all that. And we gave it to them, and they got it done within like a week or so. And again, we optimized on costs over there. And the cost of transportation that time, because it was 24 boxes at a time, we were getting the cost of transportation down to probably 3 or 4 rupees per box. So this way, the remaining was the margin, right? So 25 rupees was a margin. But for us to make it a viable business, we need to sell at least 500 box in a single cafeteria. If we sell 500 boxes, then it's a very profitable model. What was happening was the delivery cost as well as at the kiosk, the person who sells it, his salary also has to be paid in that margin. So what was happening was we were trying to hire those people who can, whose salaries will not be so high, and those people who can manage to sell all of these boxes, say somewhere in 10 to 12,000 salary range, we were trying to hire so that salaries are not so high, and they can also do this work of selling these boxes as well as collecting the cash. Now, what happened is we did all of this, we did all the optimization. There were many challenges because I'll tell you, even to the point that these boxes that come after employees eat the food, right? a lot of times the housekeeping, we used to give them free food so that they clean the boxes for us. And certain times they used to do it like say 70-80% of the time, but 20% of the time, they were like they didn't like the food that we give. When we got Chinese or when we got some fried rice on that day menu, these housekeeping and all don't eat that kind of food. They want like basic, anna sambar kind of thing. On that day, they never used to like it, and they never used to clean the boxes also properly because of that. So we had to go. So I myself and my founder have so many days cleaned boxes so that there's no oil contents left. We have redone it properly with hot water. I remember on weekends also when we used to get some spare time, boxes wouldn't have been cleaned properly, and we used to sit down and make sure each and every box is neat. And people who have to have the food, they should not see oil stains of previous consumers of what they've eaten. So there are a lot of challenges to maintain this quality control. It was not being easy, but we still went ahead with it to see, okay, till what time can we sustain this model. So one more thing was the dishwashing facility was available only in one office. Other offices, there was no dishwashing facility. I told you we were in 5 to 6 offices. In other offices, there was no dishwashing facility. What they used to do is they just used to eat and keep the boxes in one area. And they asked us to collect it and take it from there. But we had to wash it somewhere before we give that same boxes to the next day for the next restaurant. So we used to collect all the boxes and get it to one, dishwashing area, which is inside the cafeteria, inside the corporate. And sometimes they used to allow us to do it through the housekeeping. Sometimes they used to say, you wash it yourself. And there have been many days where we washed the boxes ourselves. And even our first few employees whom we hired, they also have washed the boxes of other people who needed food. So we've done all that struggle, and finally we realized that this will not make sense in a long term. The reason why we realized that was that the margins was after removing salaries, after removing all of this transportation and packaging costs, soap, dishwash costs, and one of the other thing was we were making, after removing all these costs, we were making some 5 to 8% profit margin. But what was happening was, the biggest challenge was, say we got 10 boxes of food, or say we got 25 boxes of food for the employees on that day. Initially, everything used to get sold out immediately. But as we increased the volumes, what was happening was, some days 3 to 4 boxes used to be left out, meaning employees would, we would have estimated 40 boxes, but only 37 would have turned up. So there was no way to estimate how many people will come, because it was an impulsive decision. We didn't do we tried to do pre-ordering, we tried to introduce pre-ordering where people can message us and all that, but initially itself we realized that it's not something which will work. So what we did at that time was, we realized even if we make 8% margin, but say at the end of the day 3 to 4 boxes are left out and no one consumes it, that 8% will come down to 0 or 1 or 0% itself, the margin. So we realized if we continue this way, it is only going to make sense to do this in large corporates and not small corporates with just 50 to 70 meals. If you have to do this, you have to do it somewhere where there are 200, 300 meals in one single corporate. So this was the biggest challenge. And again, we realized that this will not work going forward. And so we did a second pivot over here. We pivoted our business again over here. So there was quite a lot of risk on us because of the wastage of food. So the pivot we did here was that we continued to collaborate with restaurants, but what we did was, there was at the same time there was a company called Baby Oil, which was owned by Mahindra. It was, you might know, First Cry. First Cry is a company which has acquired Baby Oil. Basically, that company, they had employees of around 100, 150 employees, and they wanted they reached out to us and they asked us to manage the entire cafeteria. They told, I will promise you, even if employees come or not, I will give you 70 plates order every day. Even if 65 employees come, you will be paid for 70. So that promise where you manage the entire cafeteria, but you will get fixed amount of business, even if some employees don't come. That model we got the first opportunity from one of this company. This was a startup, by the way. We felt, okay, this makes much more sense when a company is taking on the risk on behalf of us. At that time, we can provide better food and we can not worry about wastage and we can maintain our margins. So that is the first pivot we did to that model where there was no kiosk that time. The entire cafeteria setup was ours. We used to get food from restaurants itself, but we kept it in a buffet format. Anyone can serve how much ever they want, but we will get paid for 70 people's food. In that, also they really loved, so that client really loved our model where we get tied up with multiple vendors. It could be restaurants or caterers also. So we moved from just restaurant food, but we changed the vendor base from not only just being restaurants but caterers also, because their budgets were only 75 rupees per plate. So there you can't give a restaurant food with so much variety. But our promise was that I can give you multiple vendors, even if you have just one cafeteria, and even if you are just 70 people, I can keep changing the vendors who come in. Maybe 1 week I'll give you one vendor's food, second week I'll give you another vendor's food, so that you get a lot of change in taste and variety and you don't get bored. So the biggest problem over there we realized was people were getting bored of the food and they wanted variety. They knew, okay, only 70 rupees, 75 rupees budget is there. I can't get restaurant food, but I don't want to eat the same taste of dal, same taste of the curries. I want some changes in taste itself, and that's how we moved from a restaurant aggregated kiosk model to a cafeteria operating model with fixed revenue, and we keep changing the vendor payment. This pivot actually gave us the business growth. With this pivot, we moved from 500 meals to within a year we were doing somewhere around 1 year and a half. From for 500 meals, we had touched somewhere around 4,000 to 5,000 meals. So it scaled exponentially. We grew 10 times with this model. And this thing, what I would say is the learning that we got from this is that sometimes we thought of giving up before this itself when the model was not working. We thought, okay, let's try some other business idea. Let's not continue with this. Let us look at something else. Multiple times, me and my partner thought about this. But the learning from this for us was that every day that you push longer, there will be some opportunity or the other that will open up. And as long as you keep your eyes open for what are the new opportunities in that same area, and as long as you keep your eyes and you are open to trying new things, you will not and not give up before even trying it out. Until you do that, you will not be able to see growth or success. So that was one learning for us, because we never realized, we did think that there could be certain opportunities ahead, realize what they could be, but this turned out to be the one that actually clicked for us. So being bootstrapped by, we just invested probably 50 to 75,000 each initially in the company, me and my partner. With that, we turned the company around to making revenues of probably around, in the second year, we were doing around, the entire turnover was somewhere around 4 or 5 crores an annum. and the third year it went up to 12 to 13 crores of turnover. So that kind of turned around. We got very good clients, like we got
Chandana, hello.
So what are the success strategies, sir?
okay. So for us, we were only looking at so at the same time when we started up, right, at 2016 time, at that time there were a lot of food startups which were there in the market. Then we also started. There was one company called Yummist, there was a company called Dazo, there was a company called Spoonjoy, and there was another company called iTiffin. All into the food space, but B2C. We were into B2B, where it's cafeteria. They were into B2C. Within that span of 4 to 5 months, one after the other, each one shut down the food sector in 2017, 16, 17 time. And we were trying to, at the same time, we had also started up, and we were like very confused. What is the path to take? Should we go for a funding? Should we build a profitable business? Should we just look at fundamentals, or what is that we need to think of? So in what discussion around this with my co-founder and the core team, and we realized that what in the time of so much adversity and difficulty and the whole market is doing bad, the best strategy is to stick to fundamentals. Fundamentals, which means that are you making a profitable business, and is it are customers coming back to you? Do you have good retention rate? That was one very important thing for us, that are people coming back to take your service, and is it profitable? If these two things were there, we were like, okay, let's continue. And which is why we focused heavily on making sure that customer retention will be taken care of very well. And which means for retention, you need to make sure your customer is satisfied and delighted with what service you're giving. And we focused heavily on customer relationships, and we focused heavily on making sure our operations is very strong, so that our customer at the end of the day is very, very happy. Because we were dealing with a completely unorganized market on the one side, which was catering units. It was completely unorganized. There was lack of professionalism. People were not educated. And when some caterer, if an employee goes to an office and speaks to a caterer, that caterer will not even know English. He will speak in his local language, maybe Hindi or Kannada, and he will not be able to form a bond with everyone. He will not understand what the employee's tastes are. So we wanted to make sure that entire service angle is taken care of very well, and that was one of the key success strategies for us, understanding where the gap between the market is and the customer is, and bridging that gap. And in this case, it was customer service very sharply. It was that there were our competitors also who were in the same space, but they weren't performing as well because this was missing in them. The customer service, customer orientedness, and understanding the needs of the customer well, it wasn't there. And we won a lot of their accounts as well, because they lost quite a few accounts, and those accounts came to us because of this very factor, which was customer service part. You can, yeah, I think I've answered this question. We can go on to the next.
So vision and mission, sir.
So when we started off, we didn't do the vision and mission. We realized that our role that we are playing is to try to create a smooth interface between the client and the vendor. That is what we realized in the second year and third year. That's when we realized this is the mission that we are going after. Create a very smooth layer between the client and the vendor, and make sure that we can achieve client delight and by improving the vendor base and making sure that they give the best out of themselves. So vendors are very important for us. If you guide them properly, make sure that you can develop the vendor in terms of making their infrastructure better, the cooking process better, the practices of hygiene, nutritional aspects of what food to be taken and what should be the calorific intake, what will be the menu combination. All of this learning was not there with the vendors. And we did a lot of vendor development, vendor improvement programs. So that on one side, we enhanced the vendors. On the other side, we also delighted the clients, and we created this. We were the interface basically between the vendor and the client, but not just an interface. But our mission was to bring the best out of the vendors to delight the clients. That's what we realized our vision and mission was, and that's what we went after. It is
That was good, sir. So, what's the contribution to the society, sir, from your side, from your startup side, to the society?
yeah, sure. So as you know, our startup is into the food space, and we are into the food space for corporates especially. Corporates are the ones who we targeted mostly startups who had good budgets and they wanted the best for their employees. That was on one side, and they used to pay well as well for the food. But on the other side is where the contribution to the society, I could say, really happened. Is that through working with these vendors, making them better, working on vendor improvement programs, and organizing the vendors, we not only helped improve their lives in one way by getting them more business, by getting the staff of the vendor to improve his knowledge, training them about the best practices. Not only did we do that, but through that we also help the end client, which is the corporates, have a more healthy, sustainable, and a delicious meal. So I could say this is the contribution to the society. I'll add one more point to this. During this recent COVID crisis, all the offices were shut as soon as the lockdown was announced from March 25th onwards. All the offices were shut, and all the catering units were also shut, and everyone was out of business. What we also realized was that there was a lot of migrant labor who was there inside our towns, which did not have they live on day-to-day wage, and they didn't have any proper food and resources. And there were a lot of not only this, there were a lot of people in old age homes and slums as well. So what we did was we tied up with a lot of NGOs. We tied up with government, government of Delhi and government of Karnataka, and we offered our. So on the other hand, I told you we have a lot of caterers, right? We offered our catering kitchens to make food in bulk for the needy at zero profit. Basically, we said that we will not take any profits. You give us whatever the orders which are there for making food in bulk, we'll get it done. The people who are working at the kitchen also, they will also be benefited because they will not lose their job. The chefs and the manpower, they'll also get some basic, money, and we will not charge any profit on top of that because we are eventually trying to contribute to the society. So that's another thing that we did for COVID recently. So in all, for us, the main thing is that how can we uplift the lives of our vendors through this, or like at the bottom of the pyramid.
Okay. Sir, can you share the awards and achievements of your startup, sir? Any recognitions?
So actually we have not received any awards or achievements as such. We've been covered in the news 2-3 times. We've been covered in few articles, journals called Be Bold 360. We've been covered in Your Story. We've been covered in Economic Times. But we've not been that company which would do something. So, by the way, there are a lot of companies which say that, okay, pay us 15,000 rupees, we'll promote you in the magazine, and we will put you as top 10 startups in the food industry and the top 20 startups, upcoming startups. There have been multiple requests like that. I didn't believe that running a business is to gain an award or something. For us, the success metrics were how many people got value out of this, how many lives have we been able to change. That was more of a success metric for us. But yeah, apart from these coverages from the newspapers, we've not been, there's no award that like that I can.
So can you share the current position and market position of your startup, sir, and your
Yeah.
competitors?
Sure. So the last I told you was about when Nextup increased their profit from the revenues 10x, right, in the third year. And I told you there were multiple companies which were coming forth to ask us for a acquisition or a merger or doing business together. So one of the companies which did come forth, we found there's a lot of future together, and we got a merger done. This was in Jan 2019. We merged with another company called SmartQ, and together, so SmartQ works on cafeteria-related technology. Nextup works on the entire operations, food management, and making sure the entire seamless customer experience happens. So both of us came together, and we are now running as a single entity. Now, what has also happened because of COVID is that still most of the cafeterias are closed. Almost 80-90% of the cafeterias are closed. People are getting food from home. But since the technology part of our, now we work as one company. So both of us are like, we are 4 founders now, 2 from SmartQ, 2 from Nextup, and all of us work together. And in the last 3 months, SmartQ has gone global. We were only present in India, but now we've gone global. Because in India, the cafeterias are not open, but in other countries, cafeterias have opened up. And they want our technology. So the technology which powers the cafeteria, where you can, what the technology does is basically you can sit in your desk, look at the menu from your mobile, order for the food will get ready, and then once it's ready, you get a notification. Only then you go and collect the food. And so that kind of a technology is what SmartQ builds. And as of today, currently what I'm speaking, in UK, Ford UK has launched our technology inside their office. None of our other competitors have gone global. They're all in India itself, but they're all facing a lot of competition because none of the offices have opened up fully and no one wants to. Hey, can you hear me?
Hello?
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, sir. Yeah. Hello?
Did you lose me for a minute?
No, sir, we didn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was a loading thing which was coming. Okay. So, in terms of the market position, right now we are placed much better than other companies because we've got a global reach for technology, in spite of India market looking bleak because of COVID. But before COVID, we were not the market leader. We were probably the second or third in the market. The market leader was another company which was heavily funded by VCs and everything. They were the market leaders. But now the tables have turned, is what I can see, and that is one of the good signs for